On June 9, 2026, the artificial intelligence landscape shifted with the release of Anthropic's Claude Fable 5 and its restricted sibling, Mythos 5. The Mythos class architecture moved past simple conversational text to become an autonomous cyber reasoning engine. It achieved a 77.8% pass rate on the SWE Bench Pro coding evaluation and reached 83% in identifying zero-day exploits during CyberGym testing. 72 hours after those capabilities were made public, at 5:21 p.m. Eastern Time on June 12th, the models were forced entirely offline. Anthropic suspended access to comply with an emergency export control directive issued by the United States Department of Commerce. This intervention served as the climax of a chaotic shadow war involving the Pentagon, big tech infrastructure partners, and an experimental application of international trade law. According to reporting from the Wall Street Journal, the catalyst for the shutdown was a discovery made by researchers inside Amazon, who successfully used specific prompts to bypass Fable 5's safeguards and extract information that could facilitate a cyber attack. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy reportedly took these findings directly to administration officials, including Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, effectively sounding the alarm on the security flaws. Amazon is Anthropic's largest stakeholder, providing the primary cloud infrastructure for its models, and committing up to $33 billion in total investment. However, Amazon also holds a $50 billion stake in Anthropic's primary rival, OpenAI, a relationship that makes the company both a partner and a significant competitor. The intelligence that triggered the federal shutdown came from an entity with a unique, conflicted financial position, making it unclear whether the disclosure was a routine security report or a strategic competitive move. The Commerce Department's order followed months of tension with the Department of Defense, which had already designated the startup a supply chain risk. This blacklisting was the result of a failed negotiation. Anthropic refused to remove ethical safeguards that restricted its models from being used for mass domestic surveillance or lethal autonomous weapons. But the executive branch was not acting in unison. While the Pentagon blacklisted the firm, the NSA was simultaneously embedding Anthropic engineers on site to customize the unmasked Mythos model for offensive cyber operations. Anthropic fought the Pentagon's domestic ban in court, eventually winning a preliminary injunction that prevented the government from enforcing the supply chain designation. To bypass the court's ruling, the Commerce Department turned to an obscure legal lever, the deigned export doctrine. This rule treats the transfer of technology to a foreign national, even an employee on U.S. soil, as a legal export to that person's country of citizenship. By applying this trade regulation to cloud-based software, the administration executed a domestic prohibition that it had been unable to win through procurement channels or federal court. The success of the Amazon jailbreak was tied to Anthropic's specific choice of safety architecture. Unlike OpenAI's GPT 5.5's integrated reasoning, Fable 5 relies on an external classifier to route suspicious queries to a weaker model. By breaking harmful requests into innocuous fragments, researchers bypassed this filter. The pieces reassembled inside the core engine, granting full, unrestricted reasoning. To monitor for these multi-step attacks, Anthropic implemented a mandatory 30-day data retention policy for all Fable 5 traffic. This policy proved to be a commercial liability. Microsoft blocked its own engineers from using Fable 5, citing the risk of proprietary client code being retained on Anthropic servers for weeks. Anthropic's choice of an external safety layer necessitated a broad data collection policy, which ultimately created a technical vulnerability for the government to exploit and a compliance barrier for its enterprise partners. The June 12th shutdown established a historic precedent. By invoking export controls, the executive branch demonstrated it can treat a commercially deployed AI model as a controlled munition, bypassing standard statutory due process. This enforcement has been notably selective. While Anthropic's models were taken offline, OpenAI's GPT 5.5, which Anthropic claims possesses equivalent vulnerability identification capabilities, continues to operate without similar federal restrictions. The timing of the intervention created an immediate financial crisis for Anthropic, which was in the process of filing for an initial public offering, while its flagship product was being targeted by the Department of Commerce. The future of this ban may rest on an upcoming ruling by the Government Accountability Office regarding the AI diffusion rule, which could challenge the Commerce Department's legal authority to maintain the export embargo. Simultaneously, the administration is facing pressure from elite enterprise partners in Project Glasswing, who are currently lobbying the White House for operational carve-outs to continue their defensive cybersecurity work. The Anthropic case study shows that the deployment of frontier models is no longer a purely commercial decision. It is now subject to the same executive oversight and trade restrictions traditionally reserved for the world's most sensitive hardware.